This is just one illustration used by Operation Lifesaver, a national education program started 18 years ago in the state of Idaho and supported by America's rail industry. It has helped to cut the number of crossing accidents in half since Operation Lifesaver was first founded in 1972. In Ohio, Chris Shipley is executive director of Ohio Operation Lifesaver. Chris travels the state pleading with people to stop, look, and listen.
Right. I mean, there are advanced warning signs that are put on the highways by the Highway Authority, the yellow disc, the highway paintings, the crossbuck sign. Whether or not there are automatic warning devices at the crossing, there is the passive device ahead of time. And it's up to the motorist to slow down, look both ways, listen for the whistle on the train. Still, statistically, most people live within 25 miles of the crossing if they become involved in an incident. So it's one it's a crossing they're familiar with, and they've become complacent in their driving.
This mobile safety exhibit crisscrosses the country promoting crossing safety and showing this film.
Why does any driver do this? The guard arm is down, the lights are flashing, the warning horn is sounding.
This happens 18 times a day across North America. That impact's the same as you taking a car and crushing an empty pop can. You look at the car and you look at our locomotive. You can see there's a big lot of damage under that car.
And public service announcements are geared to get your attention.
I worked summers for the railroad. My grandfather and great-grandfather were railroad men. We've seen people hurt and people killed, young people, because they didn't listen to this advice. Stay off the tracks and out of railroad yards. Playing around trains is playing with your life.
Gates and lights can be installed at all 8,600 railroad crossings in Ohio, and people would still be killed and injured each year because, as we see here, motorists will still attempt to try and beat a train. The answer to safety lies not in these devices, but in the drivers who need to stop, look, and listen. School buses and gas transport vehicles are two things that frighten engineers. If a train hits a gas truck, you're dead, say engineers. You won't have to worry about it. But hit a school bus, and you'll have to live with that the rest of your life. Now watch this school bus in footage shot by a television station in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The bus driver lost his job, but luckily not his life, nor the lives of the screaming children on board. Here's a scary scene captured by an amateur photographer in Louisiana. A gasoline transport vehicle nearly hit by a train. Installing flashing lights, bells, and gates at every railroad crossing at a cost of over $100,000 for each is not economically feasible. Ralph Dalton of Troy is a retired railroad engineer who worked 41 years running up and down what was then known as the B&O tracks in the Miami Valley. Dalton has been involved in too many to count crossing accidents resulting in injuries and death.
If you hit a car, you go down, and when you got to open that door or look inside, and I believe if there's little kids involved, it seemed like it was much worse than when they're just an adult or something like that.
Ellen Swinehart of Vandalia is alive to tell about her accident with a train 8 years ago. And while Ellen really doesn't remember what happened that night at a crossing just north of Troy, an injury to her right shoulder forced her to learn to ride all over again as a left-hander.
I was in the hospital for 4 months. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. And I just had to begin again as a child, all over again. I had to go through everything, walking, talking.
Norman Tritchue lost his son Paul earlier this year at this railroad crossing in the Dark County village of Versailles, one of 3 killed at this crossing in less than 4 months.
This is serious business when you're talking human life.
Gates will soon be installed at this crossing following a public outcry. Running a crossing gate is not only dangerous, but it is also against the law, and you could be fined as much as $100 in court costs on the first offense. In the Dark County village of Ansonia, for example, if you're cited for crossing the tracks while the warning devices are activated, plan on watching a safety movie produced by Operation Lifesaver.
The people we've had watched it so far, you don't hear anything while they're watching the movie. We talk to them afterwards, and they really don't realize what actually can happen at a railroad crossing.
Yeah, we've generally ranked number 1 or number 2, and that's it's a real tragedy. And what we need to do is it's a combination of things. One is putting more guards up and better facilities, but the other is education. And people need to know how dangerous railroad crossings are. It's amazing how many times you find the crossing guards are functioning well and people are bypassing it.
Do us all a favor. Keep that pop can in mind the next time you have an urge to beat a train.